Hey guys, I'm the 50s Kid. In this video, we're gonna take a look at Milwaukee's new extended length M12 high-speed ratchets. So these ones are actually, they have a much longer length than the standard ones, and that's super useful because the main thing about this tool I think that a lot of people get wrong is how it's used. They expect it to have enough torque to break loose a fastener just by pushing the button. That's not really how it's meant to be used. You're supposed to put that on, put the socket on the bolt and then use the tool to actually break the fastener loose by hand, and then you push the button, push the paddle to spin the bolt off. And the difference between this one and the previous generation is this one is way faster, and it's also a lot smaller than the previous generation, especially the 3/8. This is the previous generation 3/8, and it's much beefier. It's much more top heavy. The thing, it weighs a whole bunch on this end, way more on this end than this end. So it's actually kind of a little unwieldy to use, and you can see how thick the head is right there compared, and it's just I never use this just because it's just so heavy and so big and so kind of awkward. I kind of prefer these ones with the thinner heads like this. This tool would really shine, I think, if you are working on a lot of trucks and you need that kind of more heavy duty tool. Trucks just have much beefier stuff on them. And honestly, if you are working on trucks, you probably wouldn't even have a 3/8 drive. You would have a 1/2 drive because everything's just bigger on trucks. And if you want to break all those bolts loose, you want something beefier and stuff. So in a 3/8 version, that's why I think it just makes more sense to have this size head, really. Probably a lot of people have been using these on brake jobs and stuff to break loose caliper bolts. And maybe it is a lot better to have something beefier for that, I would say. It just depends on what you're working on and how rusty the fasteners are. Speaking of rusty fasteners, this probably excels at getting those, if you're loosening a fastener that's super rusty, it's gonna be very difficult to come out. Even after you break it loose and you push the button, it's not gonna wanna back out, especially with this tool, because this tool, it's a lot faster, but it has a lot less torque. You're actually sacrificing torque for speed in this particular tool. So if you put this on, you try to get a rusty fastener out, it's probably going to stop the tool because the tool is going to detect that too much power is being drawn. It's going to automatically shut off. So you're going to be frustrated with this tool if you're removing a lot of rusty fasteners, whereas this one is just going to power through it because it's slower, which means it has more torque, and it's just going to power those rusty fasteners right out. So you might want to consider this tool if that's what you work on a lot. But I never work on rusty stuff, so I prefer things that are just faster, and that's why this one is particularly better. I did use this on a brake job. I did use this to break loose caliper bolts, and it was just fine at that. I didn't have any reservations about doing that. It seemed like a perfectly stout tool to me. So another place where these kinds of tools will be super handy is when you're working on engines, and you're sort of especially like engines that are transversely mounted, where you have the timing belts and all those components on the right side of the vehicle, on the passenger side of the vehicle here in America, and you just kind of have to get your tool down deep in there. Like let's say you're doing a timing cover or something like that. It's super helpful to be able to take one of these tools. Perhaps you might even want the 1/4" version in that case, and maybe you're trying to take off a bunch of 10mm fasteners. That's a pretty small footprint. You can get down in there and break them loose and spin them out and kind of do what you need to do. Another reason that this is really good when you're doing that, and as opposed to maybe like if you have like a long ratchet, and you have to get down in there and get some 10mm fasteners off. The reason that this could suck sometimes is because there's always some slop that you have to take up, right? You get the thing on the bolt, and then you have to turn this a little bit in order to take up that slop, and then you have to break it loose enough to kind of be able to start ratcheting it out. And then that kind of sucks too, because maybe the bolt might be a little too loose, and you're just going to start turning it backwards and forwards because the bolt doesn't have enough kind of resistance there's not enough, there's too much play in there, and instead of that bolt sort of being held in place so that you can ratchet it, you have to kind of reach your finger down there, hold on to the socket to kind of stop it from turning back. Otherwise you're just going to be rocking back and forth. You're not going to be backing the bolts out. So it's kind of frustrating with a tool like this. That's where this is really great, because you can get this down on the bolt, pull the trigger and that'll tighten up and that'll remove the slop. So then all you have to do is just move it a little bit in order to break it loose a little bit, and then push the button, spin the bolt right out. It's just so much faster to use a tool like this. That's why I really, really love these tools. So yeah, these tools are great. I've been using them for years. If you've been watching my videos for years, you've seen me using tools like this. The shorter ones. I have the high-speed 3/8 shorter one. Let me show you what that looks like. This is the 3/8 short one that I've been using for years now, high speed. And what's that? Yeah, things charged up. So high speed, right? Same as this one. Love it. But that one is just not that long all the time. So it's actually awkward for getting down in there. See, the whole body right here is kind of thick, so it can sometimes be awkward to get down in there. But when you have this little, the thin shaft of this tool right here, you can definitely get down in and get past obstructions and break things free. So this, I'm super, super happy to have this one. All this time I've been using this long one, which is the 1/4" version, and this was the only one they had, and that one was normal speed. I just had wished for years that they made this exact tool with a 3/8 head, but they didn't. So now they basically do, and that's why I love it. So Milwaukee also sent me these sockets as well. We've got the 3/8 metric and 3/8 SAE, and then we have the 1/4" metric here and the metric SAEs. And what I really love about these sockets, I'm just going to highlight the things that I like about these sockets. Number one, the size of the socket, it's actually stamped into the socket itself. It's actually, there's, you know, it's divoted down in the socket. I can't think of a better word, but you know, the writing, the white that you see is actually sunken in, so that, and the reason that's useful is that as you use these, you're going to be sort of brushing them up against stuff, right? And they definitely will take a lot of wear. Let me give you an example. So here's some examples of sockets that I've been using for years now. These ones are not embossed. The numbering is not stamped into them, and they definitely are starting to wear. They're all right so far. I can still see the lettering, but they wear over time. So it's really nice to have it sunken in there, so that's not gonna, you know, it's not gonna wear away as quickly. So I really, really like that. Another thing about these sockets is they are not thin-walled sockets. These ones I've been using all this time are thin-walled sockets. Where's my 16? They are thin-walled sockets, and thin-walled sockets could be a detriment in some cases. You know, these are impact sockets, so if you're using them on impact tools, they've got less weight, they've got less force to, less mass to help break things loose. So it's always nice to have regular sockets, regular impact sockets in that way. So another thing that I really like about this set is that it actually goes from 7 to 21. Normally these sets will probably go from 8 to 19. Even the tool truck brands, you know, on a 3/8 set, you're gonna go from 8 to 19, and then you gotta switch over to a 1/2" set if you want the 21 and 22, which is, you know, you're gonna use a 21 and 22 a lot. So it's really nice to have a little bit of an extended set. That's very, very nice. I don't know if Milwaukee has made deep sockets yet. I got to look into that, but if they have, I think I would really want those as well. The 1/4" set goes up to 15, which is great. A lot of them do. It goes down to 4.5, which is more than you're ever going to need. It's really nice. And then the 1/2" or the SAE sets, I don't know sets like these as well, so I don't know how they compare to like other sets and which ones have skips and which ones don't. So you can definitely take a look at that and do your own research there as far as what you're going to need when you're shopping for sets. But I can tell, you know, there's not much to say about sockets other than that, you know, other than what kind of differentiates them from the rest. For me, it's the embossing of the lettering and the number, you know, the fact that the 3/8 set goes to 21 and goes from 7 to 21. Those are really, really good things. Milwaukee also does make rubber boots for the heads of these things. They're pretty difficult to get on, and they were difficult to get off. So yeah, you can buy those, put those on. It protects the head from getting all banged up. There might be some cases where you wouldn't want that because it does make things it makes it a little thicker. So maybe you don't want that. So it's up to you. So if you don't yet own an electric ratchet and you're wondering which one should you buy first, I still say the one to buy first is the normal length 3/8 high-speed ratchet. It's just the most versatile one that they make. But if you're if you're going for a second one, I would go for this one right here. This one is, as far as I'm concerned, my number 2. It's really, really great. And I probably at this point I'm going to be grabbing for it most of the time, and I'll figure out if there's any situations where it wouldn't be good. But I pretty much know, like, if, for the most part, this one will work. But I know also that, you know, I would still want this one as my number 1. That's just me. You might be different. So that's it, guys. Pretty quick look at Milwaukee's new long high-speed ratchets, 3/8 and 1/4 inch drive, as well as their new socket sets. If you're interested in any of this stuff, you'll find links in the description. Thanks a lot for watching.